Hello and welcome. My name is Brian and this is RP Inspired Photography. I thought I'd take a couple of seconds here before we jump into this week's episode and just take care of a little business and give you some information. First of all, if you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. And if you like what you see, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, ding the bell, because it tickles the algorithms, that's a tough word, and grows the channel to reach more people. The mission of my channel, the goal of my channel, and the reason for being is inspiration. Inspiring people with visual issues to step outside their comfort zone, find a hobby, find something, and just go out and try. Myself, I am visually impaired. I have retinitis pigmentosa. That is the RP in RP Inspired. With that, 10% of anything that my channel, my brand, business, however you want to classify it, generates, I am donating it to a great charity called Foundation Fighting Blindness. They are a key organization in raising funds for research for retinal inherited diseases. My mission is that I want to give back, and if you're interested in anything like that, if you want to know more about what's going on with that, the links for that will be in the description below. The links for all my social media, my website, blah blah blah, which my website is still in progress, will be below. I thank you in advance. Hope you enjoy the content. So let's get into it. Okay, this week's episode's gonna be about basic DSLR function. In other words, if you've never picked up a DSLR or a digital camera, I mean, if you want to dive into photography head first and spend $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a camera body, you could get a mirrorless. You know, it all depends on where you want to be. But what we're going to cover in here is we're going to look at my camera and just go over what most DSLR cameras or digital cameras have as basic function. My camera, as you've heard in the past, is a Canon Rebel EOS T3i, or in Europe it's a D600. We are eventually going to get into the separate functions. I'm going to try to do a series here on what's going on and some of the things that these functions do. But for the scope of this particular video, I'm just going to go over the camera, go over the functions, where they are, a little bit on what they do, and just to give you an idea that if you want to get into this, this is kind of what you're running into. All right, let's turn the camera around here and take a look. Okay, everybody knows what this is, right? It's your basic DSLR. The Canon Rebel EOS T3i. It doesn't get much more basic than that. It looks intimidating. You may feel intimidating if you've never used one. It'll look like there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's really not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward, and a lot of professional photographers back in the day when this camera came out loved this camera, and it jump-started their careers. So let's stop spinning this thing around and let's show you what we got. Okay, let's get started on this side of the camera. Start up at the top. This is the force flash button. And I'll back the camera up here a little bit. When you push that button, it forces your camera, no matter what mode you're in, to kick your flash up. Then, dropping down, this is your lens release. You push it in, turn your lens, out it comes. There we go. This has a white line on it. A lot of Canon lenses, this is a Tamron lens. Canon lenses will have a white dot or a red dot. If it has a red dot, it'll work on this camera, but it'll also work on a full frame. This is what you would consider a crop sensor, which is a smaller sensor inside the camera. This button down here, that is your depth of field. So if you're looking through your viewfinder on the back, if you're looking through here, you press that button and you can see in real time the depth of field for your image. Then on the lenses, not all lenses, but most lenses nowadays will have your manual focus, autofocus, and then you'll have this image stabilization button on or off. Now if you're using a tripod, you're going to want to have this thing off, because the idea is your camera, when it's on, is looking for movement to stabilize. So if it's on and it's sitting on a tripod, it's still looking for movement, and it's going to screw up your picture. Then we have a couple of ports. You have your mic port for like taking videos or what have you. And then you have your, I don't know what you want to call it. We used to call it your remote control port. So like if you have a intervalometer, which is basically a remote for your shutter, that's where you would plug that in. So if you want to do like 200 shots in a row, you can set your intervalometer remote to do that. That's where you'll plug that in. There's your AV ports, your mini AC, and your mini HDMI. This is the port you'd use to plug into your camera, into your computer, or into a TV, or what have you. It has a USB jack on the other end. Okay, here's your card slot. Push it in, pop it out. Put it back and close. Memory card. On this lens I have a lock button, so when it's all the way in, you just lock it. Here's your shutter release. Here is your selector dial. Now with the shutter release, comes with a focus is also in here. So you press it down halfway, it focuses, you'll hear the beep, you'll see a flash inside your viewfinder, and then you push the rest of the way down to complete the picture. Now on my camera, I have transferred the focus part of this to the back of the camera to this button here. And at some point we'll go through how to do that. The advantage of that is once you set the focus with this, that focus stays even when you take the picture. If you use your shutter button for that, every time you touch your shutter button, it refocuses. So if you lock your focus in the back, you can touch your shutter as many times as you want and it'll keep the original focus. Now, a lot of the newer cameras don't necessarily do this, but the one nice thing about the T series with Canon is they all have the rotating viewfinder. So it's really handy when you go down low or go up high. You can see if you're in live mode, you can see your picture from any angle. Now this up here is all your video button and your live view button. That changes it from live to in the viewfinder. Now we have your AV button. If you push this and this top wheel, the control wheel up on top, it adjusts your f-stop or your aperture. Here's your Q button or function button, and you go across with your down here where the set is, what I call the control wheel on the back. It'll take you through all the settings and it'll tell you which each one is. We can go through those at a later date. Then up here you have your focus points. You can have it so it takes the entire picture, or if you turn the wheel, you can have it up on top. You can choose any one you want, where in the picture you want your focus points to be. I'm there, but when you're doing landscape photography, sometimes it's best to do this. so you get more of your shot in focus, depending on your aperture. Okay, while you're in live mode, you can have it so that you have nothing but the picture in there. But if you want to see some more information of the info button, then you have all your settings over here, your meter down at the bottom. You can do a histogram and then off. Now if you want to see the histogram for the picture you've taken, there you have the red, green, and blue, and the highlights down below. Same concept. Now with the histogram, the further to the right you go, the brighter and more blown out and less detail there are. The further to the left you go, the darker the image is and the strong shadows. So the idea is to try to have all four of those in the middle somewhere to have the best exposure. Okay, we show the info button when you're looking at a picture. Now when you're in a mode, you can click the info button and it gives you what your settings are that you have on your camera right now. Then we have the menu button. This runs through all your options to set up your camera, however you want to do it. We are not going to go through these individually, but this is where you find everything in your camera. And you can even change how you set up your menu. Now we have these sets of buttons down here. And when we're in the function key, these are the same ones you use to move around the screen. So, first up, we got white balance. Got auto, daylight, shade, cloudy, tungsten, which we don't have tungsten. At least most people are switching over to LED now, so tungsten will probably go away. Fluorescent, flash, and custom. I just leave mine on auto unless it is bright sunshine, but auto works pretty good. Then we have your shooting method, or drive mode as it says. Single shot, continuous shot, self timer with wireless remote. 2-second timer is a fantastic tool for tripod photography. If you don't want to bump your camera when you're shooting in like a super slow shutter speed, you put it on a 2-second timer, hit the button, and you don't have to worry about any kind of camera shake. I love the 2-second timer. Then you have a continuous timer with up to 10 shots. We'll do 5 just as a demonstration. So we'll focus. And then we'll just shoot. Now we'll run through the shooting modes on the top wheel on top. We'll start out here with video. And these are all automatic up until you get to the fully automatic. So we got video, then you got night portrait. Night portrait is when it's a low lit room outside, whatever, and somebody's backlit. That's this. And if you hit the function key, you can see you have your different shutters. Single, timer, so forth. Then you have sports for action. Little kids running around, birds, what have you. And you can see again your selection is the same as before. Those are the only settings you can change. Then you have close-up for flowers, bugs, what have you. Same thing here for your shutter. Then you have landscape. That's my zone, so to speak. I don't use landscape because I'm in manual mode. Then you have regular portrait. That's when you have someone up close and you want the background behind them blurred out. That would be the automatic setting for that. Same with the shutter selection. Then you have creative auto. That gives you a little bit more. You can play with background blur and shutter. Next up, flash off. So if you don't want your flash to come on at all, this is what you would use in an automatic mode. And you have fully auto. It does everything. This is like taking a picture with your phone. Just click and you got this beautiful picture. Now we're getting to program mode. You can see everything. You can select all kinds of stuff except for the shutter and the aperture. Then you have shutter priority, which means you can select everything but the aperture. Aperture priority is just the opposite. You can adjust everything but the shutter. Then you have fully manual mode. You can adjust everything. This is where you are making the picture, not the camera. You do all the selections, you set everything up. This is where things get really creative. And then last but not least, you have auto depth of field. So it'll automatically set the depth of field so that this shutter and aperture are set perfectly. That is everything on the back of the camera plus the mode wheel on top. Okay, top of the camera. Here's your ISO setting. So if you're holding your camera, something like this, you can push this down in live mode and it'll show the options for your ISO will show up on the LCD screen in the back, and you turn this wheel to select the ISO that you want. This turns your LCD screen on and off. We just went through the modes, your on and off switch, and this little dial right here is a diopter. If you wear corrective lenses and when you look through the viewfinder, it's hard to see with glasses, you can look through there, spin that dial, and adjust it so that when you're looking through it, it's sharp. So you and the camera are in sync. When it looks sharp to you, the camera says it's sharp. So the best way to set this up, at least for me, is I put it on a tripod and I found something with print, newspaper, poster, something that had print on it, and then I adjust it looking through that at that poster. That's what that's for. Then these guys, you've got one here, I've got one down here. Bubble levels. When you're doing landscape photography, or any photography, but landscape especially, you want your horizon to be level. You want all your objects to be level in your scene. These things are fantastic. They're cheap. And I've got another one. It's clear plastic with two level angles in it. So when you're looking through the back of it, you can see that you're level instead of having to look up over the top. But they just slide right on. This one just slides right on your hot shoe. Simple, easy peasy. And that helps you keep your images level. That's what we got. We've run through all the functions. And that's it for this video. Well, I hope you enjoyed the content of this video, and I appreciate you stopping by to check it out. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episodes, hopefully on a regular basis, and hopefully on Thursdays every week. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care, everyone, and have a great day.